there is a lot of literature out there about vampires and werewolves. How do you keep yours unique without going too far into someone else's territory? What someone else thought you were.
I feel lucky that I was one of the first in the field, because that means I don't have to worry about anybody else. My way of thinking anyway. Of course, Anne Rice wrote vampire books a long time ago, and interestingly, I heard from her a couple of weeks ago. She loves the show. And of course, Laurel K. Hamilton. At first, I got a lot of comparisons to Laurel. People call me Laurel Light. People act like writers don't have feelings, whereas I know you have to put on your big girl pants when you're in the public eye. Still, it's not like we weren't real people, you know, and we do have feelings about what we do. Lately, several people have asked me why I copied from Stephanie Meyer. Did you look at those book release days? I think I've got a few years on Stephanie Meyer. And then every now and then somebody will get really mad on my behalf that Stephanie Meyer copied off of me. The fact is, it's inevitable if you write about human and vampire relationships that there are going to be similarities between books. And Stephanie has said publicly many times that she does not read any other vampire literature.
Yeah.
So I guess I would have to say that you just have to build your own world and stick with it. Unfortunately, every now and then you'll read someone else and you'll think, oh, I wish I'd thought of that idea. That's so good. Like Tiny Huff's theories of why vampires can't cross running water, which is a big thing in Dracula. But I completely discarded that because I couldn't think of any way to make it work. And besides, Tanya had already, you know, gotten the great answer to that. They can't swim, they sink because there's no air. And I thought, oh, that's so good. Use it. I just ignore the whole vampires and water issue. I think you just have to use what works for you within the outline of your own world. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen. One of the things that really drew me to your books was just a positive light on the South. And I grew up here in Florida, and in Crescent City, which is a really small town. And I know my whole family growing up here, we had a lot of stories and stuff. I wondered if you kind of grew up in that same kind of environment where you had maybe grandparents or parents telling you a lot of stories about their childhood growing up in the areas that you write about.
Not as much as I wish I had. I did grow up in a very small town in Mississippi. My mom still lives there, and I wouldn't change the way I was brought up, though now I see the big disparities in the way life was there and the way it really should be. But I get weird questions from people all the time, like, are people more superstitious in the South? No. I'm not writing about a believable world, but Sookie's part is believable. And I try to peg her very firmly to real life in the South now, because I think that makes the contrast with the supernatural more interesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Harris.
Good afternoon.
Big fan. My name is Howard. Two questions. The first question, on your character development for HBO, when they presented you with some of the actors and actresses, were any of the people who are currently in the cast your favorites at first, or did you have somebody else in mind when they presented you with the opportunity that you have a say-so?
Well, I did have definite pictures in my mind of the way the characters had looked to me for many years. It was a little jolt to realize that they weren't going to look that way. Because they weren't going to find an exact physical match in an actor. And then I had to realize, as Alan pointed out, that what they wanted was the great actor, not the person who looked physically the most like the description of the character in the book. Because as the series continues, looks grow less important, and the acting ability grows more important. And there again, I think letting Alan do what he does best was the right thing. Because some of the people whose pictures I saw didn't seem to match very well at all to me. And look at Anna Paquin, golly, she's slim as a reed and a natural brunette, and yet I think she embodies Sookie very well. I'm just in awe of the job she's done.
Second part, the music, the theme. What do you think of the theme? Personally, I'm a musician, and I think it's one of the most extraordinary themes for any kind of show that's been on television in years.
I actually do know a little bit about that. When Alan was putting together the credits, they put the song Bad Things with it just to have music with it. They never thought that would be the permanent theme song of the show. They tried lots of other music with it, and in the end they came back to Bad Things. And I think it's just perfect. I think it does great, and I think the opening credits are outstanding. Of course, I like the part with my name there. We watch every week, and I've got everything on DVD because they usually send it to me ahead of time. Not always, but they usually do. And I after the part where my name is on the globule of blood, I said, okay, we can turn it off.
My original question was if you watched the show. And the second was, do the images, you said that the actors weren't what you had pictured. Do you now have trouble when you're writing? Do you picture the actors, or does the show kind of bother you when you're writing?
It usually doesn't, because I've lived with these characters a lot longer than the show has been on. But some of the characters look so much like my mental image. Chris Bauer looks so much like Andy Bauer, except he's a little taller. So I do see Chris Bauer in my head. And Sam Trammell looks very much like Sam Merlot. So every now and then I find myself thinking of Sam Trammell instead. But he's really the only one who looks enough like my mental image to where sometimes I can play him.